Okay, before we look at the roll film holder, I thought you might find it interesting if you haven't really taken a close look at a roll of 120 film before. This is 120. It's 2¼ inches wide, and you see as we extend this, the paper on one side is black. That's going to be protecting our film, which is wound inside the spool here. And then the outside, you'll see as we pull it across, there's a marker that's going to help us align the frame so we know when to stop, and then we can advance the film, close the back up. And you'll see these different little symbols here. And these markings will match different types of roll film backs or cameras. So sometimes the cameras, they don't have a counter on the top, but you might have to pull back a little window on the back of the camera and advance the film until you see the frame that you want. And you'll see here 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks like it's a 6x6 possibly. And then this might be 6x7, 6x9. But you'll see as we open the back, and the windows will explain to you how that happens. So just be aware, those are there, and that's how we find out how to adjust the counter on some of older cameras. You'll see now we have the film. This is the paper backing. It's taped here, and this is the actual film part, this brownish part here. It's taped here, and it's not taped on the other end, but it's wrapped around the reel. And so you always have to be careful when you're loading or handling film. Of course, you'll never have this film exposed to the daylight. That'll be inside your camera in a dark bag. But also when you're just loading the cameras or loading holders, you want to kind of do it in subdued light. You know, don't have the sun shining directly on it. And I'm using this Portra 400 film, and I shoot both 120 and 220. And so I have a couple backs that'll shoot 220. I've got quite a stock of old 220 film. It's outdated. I've had it frozen, but I do tests on it, and we'll determine the shutter speed, which happens to be, instead of 400, I'm shooting it at 100. And just do your testing, and you can use a lot of the old film. But 220 is really nice because I don't have to keep changing films. Okay, now we have the 6x9 Cambo. When we say 6x9, that's 6x9 centimeters, or 2¼ by 3¼ format. That's the size opening of the window here. Considerably larger than the old standard 2¼ by 2¾ like the early models of the Calumet. This looks like a copy of the early Calumet, and that only shot 6x7, whereas this is 6x9. And give you an idea of the difference in size. This is a frame for a 2¼ square, which would be like for a Rolleiflex or a Hasselblad. You can see that although the width is 2¼ the same size, this is considerably narrower, so that's a little smaller. And so here you have your dark slide, a little notch here that seats into the back of your 4x5 camera. And a lot of folks ask, oh, what is your favorite roll film back? And this is it, because it's just so convenient, and I love that 6x9 format. The aspect ratio is the same as a 35mm piece of film, 2:3 aspect ratio. And this is so convenient because you don't have to remove the ground glass, just slides in under like a standard 4x5 sheet film holder. And the other back that I have that I like to use is a Dai multi-format roll film back, and that will shoot everything from 2¼ by 645 centimeters, or as they call it, 645, and I'll do a 2¼ and a 6x9 and a 6x12. 6x12 is really nice because it's quite wide for scenery shots, but for general architectural stuff, and I'm doing verticals, this 6x9 is just perfect for what I like to do. A lot of time in the old ghost towns, and this is an excellent format for that. Now to load this thing, you just pop open the back here. There's a little latch on the side. Just lift that up and it'll snap right open. Lift that up, and now you'll see the different parts here. There's some directions here for 120 and 220, because this does take both 120 and 220 film, but I'm going to show you a little something that these directions here aren't very clear about. And so anyhow, the little arms here come up. Those are eventually going to put pressure on the take-up reel to hold the paper in place. And this is the spindle from our previous roll that we just shot. And here we have our pressure plate. And you'll notice that we have both square holes and round holes. I have a practice roll. Portra 400 is what I'm kind of standardizing on now. Portra 400 is just awesome because I can make black and white prints that are very nice. I can do color, of course, and then I can vary by adjusting the exposure. I can get many different looks with this Portra. Color negative film, as you might know in general, if you overexpose it, it's not a big problem. It can be a couple of stops over, but you don't want to underexpose. So this has great latitude, unlike a slide film, but this is just a wonderful, versatile film. And so I'm kind of standardizing on that. And I have a big batch of 220 film that I just got, did my testing, determined the film speed is really just about 125. And so anyhow, that's what I'll rate my 220 at. So you lift up the pressure plate, slide this across until you see that arrow showing up. And again, if we're shooting 220, which we are not doing today, that arrow would be right here. That's where we would stop. But we're doing 120, so we're going to come all the way over to here, and not real critical, but try and get it right around the center. Pull that over, and this is going to be our take-up reel. Just want to set that in place. I'm doing this all upside down, so it's kind of tricky. Now, put our tongue of our paper in the slot here, and we just turn that to take up the slack a little bit. Try to keep it a little tight because you don't want it unraveling on you. And you don't want to pull too much, just enough to hold it in place. And then we'll close our little guides there. Shut this down. And this will snap in place automatically. Just double check it, make sure that's locked in place. So now we'll want to look at the top section here. Okay, so when you've finished your roll of film, you've taken it all out, you've loaded your new roll in, you'll find that the little red dot is between the 16 and the S. So what you'll need to do is just take this little knob and turn it so the S lines up with the red dot. Okay, just going to see if I can get that so you can see it a little better. I'm going to turn this till the S and it clicks right in place. Now what you do, just advance it and it'll automatically stop at number 1. Okay? Each time you've taken your shot, you want to go to the next one, push this little button down, and then it'll go to the number 2, and you just keep doing that until you get to the end of you shot all your 8 shots. When you go past the 8, you still just hold this down and you can get all the way to the end of the roll. You make sure it's all wound up in there. It'll just be freewheeling after you get past the 16 right now. And so then what you do, you'd open it up and take it out and start all over again. So again, I love this little holder. It served me well for many years and I highly recommend it. So if you have a chance to find one, I would suggest getting it if you can. They're not too uncommon, the 6x7 format, but when you start looking for a 6x9 or the 6x12, they're really hard to find. So you might want to just consider getting one or the other. If you're going to do a 6x12, I'd recommend that die. That's what I would get if I only had one holder to purchase. That would be it. It's very versatile, but again, you have to remove the ground glass for it and lock it in place. Whereas these kind, you just slide it in underneath there. Okay, I hope that helped you out. If you got anything out of it, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. And please consider subscribing. And thanks again for joining me, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. So take care. Thanks again. Have a good day.